talking about what's morally right, okay, and morally right to society and you, okay. I'm trying to change up how I talk about it. Anyway, today I got a video in the Congress room floor from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's talking about cloud seeding, okay, which is a thing where you can alter the weather, and so it's multiple different agencies that are cloud seeding, and she's talking about the harmfulness of it and how they pretty much defrauded people to get money for this cloud seeding and lied to the public about it and the harm that's coming from it. I'm also going to be talking about a person in the past that originally created this cloud seeding thing that people forgot. And because I had a video just recently last month that got brought up to some kind of, it was some kind, not really a copyright claim, but saying I broke the rules because what I said wasn't fact, but it actually was 100% fact, because of where I got the story from was from PBS. And I realized recently the difference between the generations. My generation grew up with PBS. You know, everybody was watching this. That's why we found out about Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Nova, which I still watch today, and you know, a lot of other shows. And so PBS is a station that takes donations, but yet is a station of education. That's a cold ass rap line. It's a station of education. Okay. So anyway, so there's this one PBS thing I watched and I remembered it, and I thought it was like, damn, why don't the public know this? And so I talked about it. The only thing I had wrong was the name of the doctor that did the thing, but I was 100% right on everything I'm talking about. You know, over time you mistake things and you get a little confused, and that's all it was confusing the name with another person and another doctor. But other than that, I was 100% right on everything. So anyway, with this, instead of me just saying it, and everyone's like, I'm going to go to the Google chat thing. What is it called? Galaxy, or what the hell is it called? Gemini. And asked it, so you know exactly what happened to Charles Mallory Hatfield. Okay? Because I remember the majority of it. The guy was in Los Angeles. There was a flood, and there was a drought, and he put these chemicals in the air, if I remember right, 23 chemicals in the air. The time was 1918, and he pretty much built a tower, let these chemicals in the air, and all of a sudden it started raining and made a flood. The city of Los Angeles tried to sue him for $20 million. Ended up having to pay $10 million back, and then they claimed that it was an act of God and that he was a fraud, but he actually did this. Many years later, they created cloud seeding in the 1920s or late 1920s, early 1930s, and it's been a thing ever since. But this guy was the original person who did it. His name is Charles Mallory Hatfield. If you want right now, go look it up on your phone, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I will use Gemini because no one believes me when I say it, but y'all will believe technology. Okay? And it's going to explain it probably better, because I cannot remember how the court trial thing went when Los Angeles tried to sue him. I think it was like, if I remember right, it was $20K they wanted to sue him, $20 million or something like that they wanted to sue him for, and ended up being $10 million or something. Anyway, discredit this guy, but he was known for making rain through clouds and chemicals. Whew, that was a whole mouthful. Alright, I'll stop. Anyway, onward to the Congress video with Marjorie Taylor Greene explaining the scenario of this seeding crisis or problem. Alright, what we got here is the Congress video of Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the cloud seeding and how it will kill millions of people. It says on the title, "Is it true that tens of millions of people will die if they don't do this. And they were saying that people were saying that if they don't cloud seed, tens of millions of people will die. They're talking about stuff that will reflect sunlight back into space, because if it doesn't, the sunlight will come in and burn us all to death. But the real cause of them seeding will cause acid rain, which will kill mammals. Humans might be more advanced on the food chain, but we are ourselves mammals. So it's something very deadly. Holy mackerel. Where the hell did that come from? I felt like I was a shotgun. But anyway, let's get to it.
Recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. For years, anybody who questioned weather modification was labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. Now we've learned that they've been doing it for decades. And not only is it a multi-billion-dollar industry, the government has invested a lot of Americans' hard-earned tax dollars into it.
So listen to what she's saying. Millions of billions of dollars into this cloud seeding program and trying to help them in their cause, but the government spent tons of money into it. But not that many of you Americans know about it. So this is a thing where y'all don't know about it, but it's happening. Okay, it's happening all over the country.
They've been forced to spin it, and apparently it is now the only way we are going to save humanity. However, let's look at the risk. According to GAO, injecting a cloud with silver iodide increases precipitation anywhere from 0 to 20%.
So silver iodide is very bad. It's actually toxic to humans in a way, because we're talking about silver and stuff. But think about it, you're breathing this silver in. So it's not a good thing. Anyway, let her go.
It could be even more, but the truth is that we really don't know for certain. The questions that are asked is, can you control the exact amount of precipitation that a cloud will produce if it is injected with silver iodide or another cloud seeding agent? Can you control where the precipitation is going to land with 100% certainty? Can you say that it will not cause or enhance flooding with 100% certainty? Is there any way to measure with absolute certainty the effectiveness of seeding a cloud? Do we know with 100% certainty how much rain a cloud would have produced if it had not been seeded? And lastly, did the American people ever get to have a say in any of this? The truth is that there's absolutely no way to measure the effectiveness of cloud seeding. But something else that needs to be known is the American people deserve to know that there is very little rules and regulations over this.
So think about this. So they kept all this from the American people. She's here trying to expose it and say the American people need to know. Hell yeah, we need to know. If you cloud seed in every cloud across the United States of America, and you're putting this silver iodide, and there's other stuff they're putting in sulfur, I think it is, they're putting in the clouds and stuff, and this is very bad, very deadly, because it causes acid rain. This stuff is dangerous. Now, yes, we're talking science in a certain way, and we're all talking about environment, so this becomes an environmental issue. And so this is something where it's humanitarian issues, an environmental issue, not even a global issue, but it can become a world global issue, depending on if their experiments by putting stuff in the clouds becomes deadlier than what they assumed. I mean, yeah, we're talking about making weather changes that could become a thing where you put too much in and it becomes this big global cloud that destroys things. You never know, but clouds do move, so you never know. But anyway,
these companies that perform cloud seeding and other types of geoengineering projects have to fill out forms from NOAA, and they have to list what agents they're using. And there is a category that simply says other, and they don't have to even fill out what other means. And I think that's extremely concerning.
Listen to that. They don't even have to tell you what it means. So they have a list there telling you what chemicals are you using to do this cloud seeding. And so they mark other to just hide behind whatever it is. They could be putting radiation up in the clouds. They could be putting anything they want. You know, any type of metal, that they, I say metal, plutonium's a form of metal, and you don't believe me, go look at the I'm all about this people not believing me thing because YouTube says I'm lying. But yes, don't believe me, go look at the periodic table. You know, it's periodic table, science. Check it out. It's amazing. But our strongest metal is plutonium or uranium. It's one of the two. All of them is metals. But they do get used in science in different ways because of the fact that they're so, powerful, they glow, isotopes and all this stuff. It's a whole science boiling pot, okay, with heavy metal, okay.
But I'd like to talk a little bit more about solar geoengineering.
So this is the part where she's talking about, which doesn't make any sense. These people are supposed to be cloud seeding, but they're saying that they're putting stuff in the clouds to reflect sunlight back into space because it will burn Earth. You pretty much burn every human on Earth. The only problem is, if you know how the sun works, radiation does that all. I mean, not radiation, X-rays do that already. X-rays are putting tiny holes into something, and they're shooting it from the sun. And they put so many on there. If you got them old school cars, them old school steel cars, they get rusted out. People talk, be rusted cars. Why are they getting rusted out? Because radiation is hitting those cars, and so they start getting rusty because daily, these tiny holes is hitting it, it's burning. You can't even see it. The microscopic holes. It's constantly making it rust out, along with every other type of metal that sits in the sun. Okay, but when you're in a hospital and you say, I need an X-ray on my leg or my arm or whatever, they put that big old thing on you. They say, sit right here. Right? And they go run out of the room. And the reason why they run out of the room because they know these tiny holes are poking into your body just to get that X-ray shot. So they're sitting there moving out of the room. But long-time exposure to X-rays will be harmful to your body. Literally harmful. And will actually weaken the bones that you're taking all these X-rays on. So be very careful on how you get X-rays at the hospital. Okay, there's stuff they don't tell you, and I'm telling you right now that X-rays are literally harmful if you have way too many X-ray shots. Okay, you don't want a lot of X-rays. Okay, you two beautiful people to be letting them destroy your body to do their weird science experiments.
It's completely different. More consequential approach to human manipulation of the planet's climate.
Human manipulation of the planet's climate. Couldn't have said it better. Badass rap song.
One geoengineering company called Make Sunsets injects aerosol into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight back into space.
Aerosol to reflect sunlight. Does that make sense? Sounds crazy. Crazy.
I want to show you their frequently asked questions page on their website. Mr. Pilkey, it says here, it says, what are you doing? It says, we're using balloons to launch reflective clouds into the stratosphere. And then it says, why? It says, unless we reflect sunlight, tens of millions of people will die, and 20% of species may go extinct. We're using the most effective way to reflect sunlight that we found and can afford to deploy. Mr. Pilkey, is it true that tens of millions of people will die if they don't do this?
There's nothing you can find in the IPCC or other scientific literature to suggest that's a consequence. Sometimes those stark claims are made to try to scare people into other forms of action on climate change. So if you don't change energy policy, we're going to mess up the stratosphere, and that's how I interpret that.
So let's listen to what he just said. So pretty much it's a twisted sales tactic. It's telling the people, hey, give us the money so we can do this, so we can save lives. But really they're not saving lives. They're finding a way to just mess up the atmosphere, to do things, to this science experiment, telling you some weird science experiment to get you to just sit there and go, whoa, let's give them money. All of our lives in danger. But really it's not. The problem is the taxpayers paying for it.
It's like a major threat to make for their company to make money. They said, how long do Make Sunsets clouds stay in the sky? Depending on the altitude and latitude at which we release them, anywhere between 6 months and 3 years. They also say, is it legal? They say yes. It falls under the Weather Modification Act. Then they have a question here, Mr. Marks. I would like you to stop doing this. And they say, and we would live a future with breathable air and no wet bulb events for generations to come. Convince us there's a more feasible way to buy us time to get there, and we'll stop. We'll happily debate anyone on this. Mr. Marks, they don't think that the rest of us have a say in this. How do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that the claim that the air is not.
So this is the part where he talks about acid rain and so forth. There's a lot of science that no one talks about that most people think about. But anyway.
Going to be breathable is just patently ridiculous. Carbon dioxide, although it is a greenhouse gas, and yes, I do agree that some of the warming, at least, that we've seen in the last 100 years is probably due to CO2 emissions. There's no indication that the air is going to become unbreathable. It makes up 0.04% by dry air volume of Earth's atmosphere. And submariners in the Navy are subject to concentrations exceeding 5,000 parts per million and are just fine.
Well, let me ask another question, Mr. Marks. It's sulfur, right, that is put into the air. Is there health consequences for people, especially like after volcanic eruptions? Is there health consequences?
So people say she's not smart. For her to know that volcanoes are part of that, then the sulfur and stuff makes her smart. Okay, it's better than some people that have a Green New Deal.
To that type of injection into the atmosphere?
Well, sulfur dioxide, if it's injected into the stratosphere, obviously it blocks out solar radiation, and so that would potentially, if it's implemented on a large enough scale over a long period of time, it could reduce crop yields because obviously plants need sunlight to grow. They need water and CO2, just basic photosynthesis. And there's also concerns that if it gets into the troposphere, it could create acid rain, and that is called acid deposition into the soil. And that makes it hard for plants to obviously to grow, and that harms plant and animal life as well. Obviously,
Mr. Marks, I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
So there we go. That's pretty much in a nutshell. Multiple places, companies, organizations, seeding clouds, not telling the public the information they need to know to protect themselves in case this stuff goes wrong or awry. I don't know the proper way to say that. And, just like killing us off, man. If you ain't killing us off with all the other crap on the land, and now you're trying to kill us in the air above, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, literally. So, what did we learn here today? I think the thing we learned is, once again, there's companies who constantly use their power, use their knowledge to manipulate the system for funding so they can go ahead and do what they want without informing the public of how toxic or dangerous it may be to the rest of us. This is a dangerous thing. Oh man, ever since I sneezed, everything's messed up. But it was like literally not telling us nothing. You're killing us off for what? So you can make a few bucks. And that's where it comes down to people, these companies, government, all these people, they're all about the money, yo. While the rest of y'all trying to make that money and act like you have that money, faking the funk, these people already got the money and they putting it in places where y'all don't know about. And it's putting your life in danger. And this is something that's critical. The situation is critical. But now I'm going to move on to talking about Charles Mallory Hatfield and how he originally created the whole cloud seeding thing to begin with. And like I said, I'm going to use this, what do you call her, Gemini. I'm going to use this Gemini because it's Google and y'all don't believe me when I'm telling you stuff or whatever, got that stupid thing, whatever, what YouTube's saying that I was lying to y'all. But I'm not lying about anything. I'm all about the truth on this channel. And so, and trying to let y'all know about it so you'd be aware of it, because if nobody tells you, then we're all doomed. Okay, I don't give a damn if you're tall, midget, small, whatever, or heavyweight, you know what I'm saying, or freaking skinny stick person. Okay, I don't care what your skin color is. You can be black, white, Mexican, native, Mexican, Asian, you know what I'm saying, magenta, you know what I'm saying, purple. I don't care. Okay, you're all human. and we all share the same fate. We're all in the same boat. The problem is y'all don't realize it, and you're going against each other when you need to go against the people who have the money and power instead of idolizing them, because most of them are doing things to destroy all of us. And they're fighting these little petty arguments and groups that don't make no sense. When really they're just there for distraction so the other people can get away with doing everything because they got the money. And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, here we go. We're going into this. Okay. Okay, so right here, this is Charles Hatfield, it says here, but it's Charles Mallory Hatfield. Do I know if he's a Hatfield from Hatfield and McCoy's? I don't know, but he is a Hatfield. And his middle name is Mallory. So, there it is here. So it's right here, Charles Mallory Hatfield. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Mallory or Mallory, whatever. English language is jacked up, y'all. Okay, it says he lived from 1875 to 1958. Okay, now he created a tower. Pretty positive in these. Let's see, we'll see all here. And then I'll ask Gemini to tell you the tell, because y'all don't believe in me. Okay, as you see here in this one photo, he's making laboratory stuff. It's right over here too. He's mixing chemicals together to make something. Now with these towers you see, let's see, let's find a good photo of one of these towers of his. I think any photo will do here. So what you have here is these towers he makes. And with these towers, what he does is he goes to the top of them. Here's another one. And he'll put these chemicals in there. And they'll go up, and they'll just like, oh, this is a whole different tower. This ain't his tower. And anyway, but he puts the towers up, and it look like this. And he sends the chemicals into the air. And when he puts the chemicals in the air, it changes the clouds and makes it able to rain. At the time, I think it was he used 23 chemicals to make it rain in Los Angeles back in 1918. The man was legendary at his time. He even met Hollywood people. Look at him, he's like prehistoric meeting Hollywood people. And yeah, what America did was they erased this man's history. They made him a fraud when people lived off of his ingenious inventions for quite some time. And after he died, or was getting close to death, they started cloud seeding, and now it's a normal thing. You can see him right here, you know, holding his hand like, is it raining? And he was known as the Rainmaker. So let's ask Gemini what happened. And I'm just gonna ask a question. We'll turn her up here. And my phone's about to die because that's what I do. I forget my phone needs to be charged and I just don't give a damn anymore. But anyway, let's ask Gemini. Hold on, listen. Gemini. Well, hold on. Dang it.
Hello. How can I help you today? Is there some?
Can you please tell me about Charles Mallory Hatfield? In 1918, he made rain for Los Angeles through a tower with 23 chemicals. What happened to him after that? He went to court, or did he get sued? I don't know. Can you please tell me the whole story and don't leave out anything?
Charles Mallory Hatfield was a self-proclaimed rainmaker and former sewing machine salesman who gained notoriety for his claims of inducing rain using a secret mix of 23 chemicals vaporized from a tower. His life story is most closely tied to the devastating San Diego flood of 1916 and the subsequent legal battle. San Diego's Great Flood of 1916 and the legal battle. In December 1915, San Diego, facing a severe drought, verbally agreed to hire Hatfield for $10,000 to fill the Morena Reservoir to overflowing. He was not to be paid if he failed. The rain. Hatfield and his brother Joel set up a 20-foot tower near the Morena Reservoir and began work on January 1st, 1916. Heavy rain began on January 5th and continued, becoming a torrential downpour that led to massive flooding the collapse of the Lower Otay Dam, and an estimated $3.5 million in damages. The lawsuit. Hatfield returned to collect his $10,000 fee, arguing he had fulfilled the contract by filling the reservoir. The city council refused to pay, unless Hatfield would accept liability for the damages. Hatfield refused to take responsibility for the destruction, which he claimed was an act of God. He tried to settle for $4,000, and then sued the city council for his fee. The verdict. The lawsuit continued until 1938. The courts decided that the rain was an act of God, which absolved Hatfield of liability for the flood damages, but also meant he was not owed his fee. He never collected the $10,000. Aftermath and later career. Despite the negative publicity and the legal dispute, Hatfield's fame grew, and he received more contracts for rainmaking, Los Angeles, and other contracts. The context mentions an earlier successful rainmaking effort for Los Angeles, where he promised 18 inches of rain and collected a $1,000 fee. For this effort, he had built his tower in Altadena, near Rubio Canyon, before the 1916 San Diego event. The context does not specify a rainmaking event for Los Angeles in 1918. It does mention a 1904 bet, where he guaranteed 18 inches of rain for LA. Other work. His contracts included work for the water-dependent mines of the Klondike goldfields in 1906, where he was largely unsuccessful and only collected $1,100 for expenses, and an agreement in 1929 to stop a fire on a banana plantation in Honduras for the Standard Steamship and Fruit Company of New Orleans. In 1921, he signed his largest contract, in excess of $25,000, to bring 5 inches of rain to Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. Later life, during the Great Depression, Hatfield had to return to his original work as a sewing machine salesman. Personal life and death. His wife, Mabel, divorced him in 1931. Hatfield died in January 1958 at the age of 82, taking his secret formula of 23 chemicals to the grave. His life story inspired the 1956 film and a Broadway play, both titled The Rainmaker. This video is relevant because it provides a visual and narrative account of the 1916 San Diego flood, which is the central event in Charles Hatfield's story, and the cause of his long legal battle. YouTube video views will be stored in your YouTube history, and your data will be stored and used by YouTube according to its terms of service.
Okay. Okay. Give me a minute here. So, wow. So, yeah, I was off on the money that he was getting. I should have realized it wasn't millions. It was the early 20th century. I didn't know he was a sewing machine salesman. And, yeah, I learned a lot just now. The stuff I didn't know. And, but yeah, I know this guy because I remember reading it in a book, and it was like for school thing. And I was like, wow, you can make it rain, you know. And, you know, before that I knew about the you know, the Native Americans would make the rain by, you know, smoke signals and stuff like that. And the rain dance, you know. But I had no idea there was a thing until I learned about this guy. There's a lot of other American historians. I learned about a lot of different things through reading. And I totally forgot a lot of this. But I do remember the California thing, San Diego thing. Wow. A lot of stuff. But anyway, the whole thing about it, what I'm trying to say is this guy created, and it went for a long time, was known as the Rainmaker, and created a lot of stuff through cloud seeding. But not from planes, but from the ground, just like letting certain things up in the air. And right now we have chemicals and things that go in the air all the time, and we just call it pollution, you know. But sooner or later there might be some kind of weird mixture of things going in the air that might damage us all. This video that I showed today with Marjorie Taylor Greene and everybody in Congress tells us that, you know, no one's safe if they just keep experimenting by throwing things in the cloud. You know, the thing was back in the day with this Hatfield man, Charles Hatfield, he was the only guy that was doing it. But we just saw evidence by Marjorie Taylor Greene that multiple agencies or companies or whatever, corporations or whatever, are doing it. So it makes us unsafe. And we had to find a way to stop it. If you're going to do your little protest things, that's something to protest. You know, the part where she says, oh, they mark other and don't tell people what the chemicals are. Well, we need them to mark other and tell us what they are. And it should be forced for them to do it. So, yeah, this is something that shouldn't be brushed under the rug, shouldn't be ignored. This is something that all lives are in danger. The guy says at the end of the video that it will cause acid rain. and most plant life and animal, or mammals anyway, would perish, which means we will perish because we're animals and we eat vegetation. So it's something worth to look at. Anyway, I think this is all good science to talk about. First off, morally wrong if these organizations are cloud seeding and not telling nobody about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I think it's even more wrong that they're lying just to get more money by telling us what is and isn't good for us when we don't even know what they're putting in half the time. You know, yes, they're using silver sulfate and they're using sulfur and they're using all this stuff, okay? Like I said, 23 chemicals this man made back in the early 20th century to make his rain. What chemical combination will they combine to make what he did and make it even worse? So, with that being said, this has been Moral High Ground. I'll leave it to you to decide if this is all morally right or wrong. Otherwise, peace be with you. Till next time, check out the next video. Peace.